Commander Alice Russell stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant and looked at the main view screen with a mix of awe and concern. Earth's newest warship was surrounded by the massive vessels of the Zarthak fleet. The alien ships were at least 5 times larger than the Defiant, their hulls covered with what appeared to be heavy armor and countless weapon ports. "Status report," Russell said, her voice calm despite the tension filling the bridge. Lieutenant Daniel Carter looked up from his communications station. "All channels open, Commander. We're broadcasting our diplomatic greeting on all frequencies, but they haven't responded yet." Russell nodded and straightened her uniform. This first contact mission was supposed to be straightforward. Earth had received signals from the Zarthak 3 months ago, and after careful translation, both sides had agreed to meet in this neutral sector of space. Humanity had only recently developed faster-than-light travel, and the Defiant represented the peak of Earth's technological achievements, or so the Zarthak believed. "They're scanning us," reported Lieutenant Jack Peterson from the tactical station. "Pretty invasive scans, too. They're trying to look through our hull." Russell wasn't surprised. "Let them look. Our outer systems are all they'll see." Chief Engineer Olivia Martinez stood quietly at her station behind the commander's chair. Only she, Russell, and 5 others on the entire ship knew about the ship's true capabilities. Project Thunderbolt remained hidden beneath layers of conventional technology and false sensor readings. The view screen suddenly flickered, and the image of a Zarthak appeared. The alien was insectoid in appearance, with a hard exoskeleton that gleamed like polished obsidian. Multiple compound eyes studied the humans, and clicking mandibles moved as it spoke. "I am Admiral Kurzoth of the Zarthak Imperium," the alien said, its words translated by the ship's computer. "You are the representatives of Earth?" "I am Commander Alice Russell of the United Earth Alliance," Russell replied with a respectful nod. "We come in peace and friendship." The alien's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sound the computer couldn't translate, but which Russell suspected might be laughter. "Peace and friendship," Kurzoth repeated. "Yet you come in a warship, a very small primitive warship, but a warship nonetheless." Russell maintained her diplomatic smile. "The Defiant is our most advanced vessel. We wanted to show respect by sending our best." More clicking sounds came from the alien admiral. The bridge crew exchanged uncomfortable glances. "Your best is quite amusing," Kurzoth said. "Our smallest support vessels possess more firepower than your entire ship. Is this truly the best that humanity can produce after centuries of development?" Russell felt her smile falter slightly. This wasn't going as planned. "Admiral, we may be newcomers to interstellar travel, but we come with honest intentions. We hope to establish peaceful relations and perhaps learn from more advanced civilizations like yours." Kurzoth's compound eyes seemed to gleam with mockery. "Learn from us? Yes, that would be wise. Your species clearly has much to learn." Behind Russell, Martinez shifted uncomfortably. The engineer knew, as did Russell, that the Defiant could have easily destroyed the entire Zarthak fleet. But revealing that capability was absolutely forbidden unless Earth faced an imminent threat. "Perhaps we could discuss cultural exchange," Russell suggested, trying to steer the conversation toward diplomacy. "Or trade agreements that might benefit both our peoples." "Trade?" Kurzoth's translator couldn't hide the dismissive tone. "What could your primitive species possibly offer the Zarthak Imperium? We have mapped 1,000 stars while you were still learning to make fire." Lieutenant Carter looked up from his console with alarm. "Commander, I'm picking up weapon signatures. Their fleet is powering up targeting systems." Russell's diplomatic facade instantly vanished. "Admiral Kurzoth, we detect your weapons coming online. This is a diplomatic mission. Please explain your actions." The alien's mandibles spread wide in what might have been a smile. "Consider this a lesson, human. The galaxy is not a friendly place for naive species. The Zarthak do not form alliances with primitives. We conquer them or destroy them when they are not useful." "We've done nothing to provoke this," Russell said, her voice hardening. "If you fire upon an Earth vessel, it will be considered an act of war." Kurzoth made that clicking sound again. "War?" Your species couldn't possibly wage war against the Imperium. Your world will be easy to claim once we've made an example of your pitiful ship. Russell exchanged a quick glance with Martinez. The engineer's hand hovered near the hidden controls that would activate Thunderbolt if necessary. Last warning, Admiral, Russell said. Disengage your weapons and return to diplomatic channels. You dare to threaten the might of the Zarthak? Krizoth's voice rose in apparent amusement. Your single ship against our fleet of 50? Your vessel's power signature can barely maintain your life support systems, let alone challenge us. Peterson spoke up from Tactical. Commander, they're locking weapons on us, multiple targeting solutions from all vessels. Russell took a deep breath. Admiral Krizoth, we came seeking friendship. It seems we were mistaken about your intentions. The strong do not befriend the weak, Krizoth replied. They either rule them or eliminate them. Your species will learn this lesson today. Russell turned to Communications Officer Lisa Garcia. Open a secure channel to Earth Command. Priority Alpha. Garcia worked quickly at her console. Channel open, Commander. The face of General William Freeman appeared on a smaller screen on Russell's command chair. His expression was grim. Report, Commander Russell. Sir, diplomatic efforts have failed. The Zarthak have hostile intentions and are targeting the Defiant with weapons. They've made it clear they view Earth as a primitive world to be conquered. Freeman's face hardened. Understood. You have contingency authorization Delta. Protect Earth at all costs. Yes, sir, Russell replied, ending the transmission. She turned to face her bridge crew. Battle stations. Lieutenant Peterson, raise shields but do not power conventional weapons. Commander? Peterson questioned, confused by the order. You heard me, Lieutenant. Let them think we're defenseless a little longer. Martinez stepped forward. Thunderbolt, Commander? Russell nodded grimly. Prepare the system, but keep it dormant until my command. As warning klaxons sounded throughout the ship, the crew moved with practiced efficiency. The Defiant might appear weak to the Zarthak, but appearances could be deceiving. On the view screen, Admiral Krizoth's mandibles clicked in apparent satisfaction. Your shields are pathetic. They will not withstand even our smallest weapons. Perhaps, Russell replied calmly. Or perhaps you shouldn't judge a species by their apparent limitations. Your destruction will be broadcast across the Imperium as a warning to other primitive races, Krizoth declared. Prepare to be annihilated. Russell settled into her command chair, her expression resolute. We'll see who learns a lesson today, Admiral. As the Zarthak fleet moved into attack formation, no one in their empire could have imagined that this day would forever change the balance of power in the galaxy. The bridge of the USS Defiant hummed with tense energy as the Zarthak fleet moved into attack position. 50 massive alien warships surrounded the lone human vessel, their weapons primed and ready. They're forming a sphere around us, Lieutenant, Peterson reported from Tactical. Classic encirclement, no escape vectors available. Commander Russell nodded calmly. That's fine. We don't need to escape. She turned to Chief Engineer Martinez. Status of Thunderbolt? System is in standby mode, Martinez replied quietly. All components are green. We can activate on your command. Russell looked at the main view screen where Admiral Krizoth waited with obvious satisfaction. The alien's mandibles clicked rapidly as he observed the trapped human ship. Your ship has nowhere to run, Krizoth said. Do you wish to surrender? We might spare some of your crew for study. We have no plans to surrender, Admiral, Russell replied evenly. I suggest you reconsider your actions. The alien's translated laughter echoed through the bridge. Your bravery is admirable but foolish. Our sensors show you have minimal weapon capacity. What do you hope to achieve? Russell didn't answer directly. Instead, she turned to Communications Officer Garcia. Send a message to Dr. Howard in engineering. Tell him to report to the bridge immediately. Garcia nodded and sent the message. A few moments later, the bridge doors slid open and Dr. Nathan Howard entered. The scientist looked pale but determined as he approached the commander's chair. You called for me, Commander? Howard asked. Yes, Doctor. I believe it's time for a demonstration of your work. Russell gestured to the view screen where the alien admiral watched with curiosity. The Zarthak seem to think we're defenseless. Howard swallowed hard. Commander, Thunderbolt has never been used in actual combat conditions. The system is stable in all simulations, but there are still unknown variables. Noted, Doctor, but we're out of options. Russell pointed to the tactical display showing all 50 alien vessels with weapons locked on the Defiant. If we don't act now, we won't get another chance. Howard nodded reluctantly. I understand. I'll need to make final calibrations from the main engineering station. As Howard moved to join Martinez at the engineering console, Admiral Krzoth's voice boomed through the bridge once more. Your time has run out, humans. The Imperium has no patience for delay tactics. Surrender now, or face destruction. Russell stood from her chair and faced the viewscreen directly. Admiral Krzoth, I want to be absolutely clear about something. We came here in peace. We still desire peace. But if you fire upon this vessel, we will defend ourselves. Krzoth's compound eyes seemed to shine with amusement. Defend yourselves? With what? Your ship's energy output barely registers on our sensors. Your weapons, if you have any, are insignificant. Appearances can be deceiving, Russell said simply. The alien admiral made a dismissive gesture. Enough of this. The Zarthak do not waste time with primitives who do not know their place. He turned to someone off screen. Target their command section. Low power. I want some of them alive for questioning. Russell looked over at Howard and Martinez. Doctor, is Thunderbolt ready? Howard's fingers moved rapidly across the engineering console. Almost, Commander. The quantum field generators need 30 more seconds to align properly. You may not have 30 seconds, Peterson warned as his tactical display flashed with warnings. 3 Zarthak vessels are powering up main weapons. Russell remained calm. Lieutenant Peterson, raise conventional shields to maximum. They won't hold for long, but we just need a few more seconds. Shields at maximum, Peterson confirmed. But against those weapons, our conventional shields will only last about 15 seconds. On the viewscreen, Krzoth gave the order. Fire. 3 of the alien vessels unleashed energy beams that struck the Defiant's shields. The ship shuddered under the impact, and warning alarms blared across the bridge. Shields at 60%, Peterson reported. Second volley incoming. Russell turned to Howard. Doctor, we need Thunderbolt now. Howard looked up from his console, his face pale but resolute. System ready, Commander. Chief Martinez, begin activation sequence, Russell ordered. Martinez nodded and opened a small panel on her console that revealed a hidden interface. Thunderbolt activation sequence initiated. Power transfer beginning. The lights on the Defiant dimmed momentarily as energy was diverted to the secret weapon system. On the exterior of the ship, nearly invisible seams appeared along the hull, as hidden panels prepared to shift. What's happening? Krzoth demanded as his sensors detected the power surge. What are you doing? Defending ourselves, Admiral, Russell replied calmly. Last chance to withdraw. The alien's mandibles clicked, furiously. All ships, full attack pattern, destroy them now! As the entire Zarthak fleet prepared to fire, the Defiant's hull began to transform. Panels slid aside, revealing intricate geometric arrays that started to glow with soft blue light. Quantum field stabilizing, Howard reported, his voice steadier. Now. Dimensional interface active, power at 80% and rising. The Zarthak ships fired simultaneously, dozens of energy beams converging on the Defiant. But something strange happened as the beams approached the human vessel. The space around the ship seemed to bend and warp, causing the energy weapons to distort and weaken before they could strike. Impossible, Krzoth exclaimed, his translator barely able to convey his shock. What technology is this? Russell didn't answer. She watched as the Defiant's transformation continued. The blue glow intensified, and the ship now appeared to be surrounded by a shifting, flickering field that defied conventional sensors. Thunderbolt at 95%, Martinez reported. Field coherence optimal. Howard looked up from his console. Commander, the system is ready, but I must warn you, the effects will be far more devastating than our simulations predicted. Once fired, we cannot control exactly how many ships will be affected. Russell nodded gravely. Understood, Doctor, but they've given us no choice. She turned to Peterson. "Lieutenant, target the Zarthak flagship only. We want to minimize casualties, while still demonstrating our capabilities." "Target locked," Peterson confirmed after a moment. On the view screen, Admiral Krizoth was shouting orders to his fleet, his previous arrogance replaced by growing panic as his sensors struggled to make sense of the Defiant's transformation. "Whatever weapon you're preparing, humans, it won't save you," Krizoth declared, but the uncertainty in his voice was clear. "The Imperium has faced thousands of species and their weapons. We always prevail." Martinez looked up from her console. "Thunderbolt at full power, Commander. Ready to fire." Russell took a deep breath and gave the order that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. "Fire." Time seemed to slow on the bridge of the USS Defiant as the Thunderbolt weapon discharged. There was no beam of light, no missile, no conventional projectile, just a ripple that distorted space itself. The ripple moved outward from the Defiant, invisible except for how it bent the light of distant stars as it passed. When the ripple reached the Zarthak flagship, something impossible happened. The massive alien vessel simply vanished. One moment it was there, its weapons ready to fire, and the next moment there was nothing but empty space. No explosion, no debris, just absence. But the ripple didn't stop. It continued traveling in a straight line, passing through the exact positions of 27 more Zarthak ships. Each vessel disappeared the instant the ripple touched it, leaving a perfect cylindrical void through the heart of the alien armada. Stunned silence filled the Defiant's bridge. Even those who knew about Thunderbolt's theoretical capabilities were shocked by the reality of what they had just witnessed. "Sweet mercy," whispered Lieutenant Peterson, breaking the silence. "They're gone." Commander Russell stared at the view screen, her face pale. "Dr. Howard, report. What just happened?" Howard studied the readings on his console with trembling hands. The quantum displacement field worked exactly as designed. It removed the affected matter from our dimension, shifting it elsewhere. "Elsewhere?" Russell asked, her voice steady despite her shock. "Where exactly?" Howard shook his head. "We don't know. Another dimension, perhaps. The mathematics suggest thousands of possibilities." He looked up at Russell, his expression grave. "They're gone, Commander, completely gone." On the view screen, the remaining Zarthak vessels hung motionless in space. Their perfect formation now had a cylindrical hole through its center where 28 ships had been just moments before. "The remaining ships are powering down weapons," Peterson reported, his voice still unsteady. "They appear to be in some kind of standby mode. I think they're in shock." "Can't blame them," Garcia said from communications. "I'm in shock too, and I knew what we were capable of." Russell took a deep breath. "Lieutenant Garcia, are we receiving any transmissions from the surviving vessels?" Garcia checked her console. "Nothing yet, Commander." "Wait. Incoming transmission. It's from one of the larger ships." "On screen," Russell ordered. The face that appeared wasn't Admiral Krizoth, who had been on the now-vanished flagship. Instead, another Zarthak officer appeared, his posture noticeably different from the arrogant admiral's. This alien's body was hunched, his compound eyes dimmed, his mandibles held tight against his face in what the humans would later learn was a gesture of extreme submission. "This is Sub-Commander Vextic of the Imperium vessel Unyielding Claw," the alien said, his translated voice subdued. "The Zarthak fleet requests immediate cessation of hostilities." Russell nodded formally. "This is Commander Russell of the USS Defiant. We accept your request. All weapons are now on standby." The alien's mandibles trembled slightly. What happened to our ships? What weapon could do such a thing?" Russell exchanged glances with Howard before responding. "Your ships have been removed from this space. That's all I'm authorized to say about our defensive capabilities." "Defensive?" Vextic's translator conveyed a tone of disbelief. "Such power is beyond anything the Imperium has encountered in 1,000 years of conquest." "We tried to warn you," Russell said simply. "Humanity came seeking peace, we still do." The alien's posture became even more submissive. "The Imperium wishes to reconsider diplomatic relations with Earth. We clearly..." misunderstood your technological development. Martinez snorted quietly from her station, but Russell maintained her professional demeanor. We would welcome peaceful discussion, she said. But first, your remaining vessels must withdraw to a distance of at least 1 light minute from the Defiant. Of course, Vextic agreed immediately. It will be done at once. As the transmission ended, the bridge crew watched the tactical display as the remaining Zarthak ships began retreating, maintaining a perfect formation despite their obvious fear. They're running away with impressive precision, Peterson noted. Got to give them credit for discipline even when terrified. Russell turned to Howard. Doctor, I need a complete analysis of what just happened. Any unexpected effects or readings from the Thunderbolt discharge? Howard nodded, looking tired but focused. Initial data shows the weapon functioned largely as designed, but there were some anomalies. He pointed to a section of his display. These readings suggest microscopic tears in the space-time fabric along the weapon's path. They appear to be healing naturally but much slower than our models predicted. Will these tears present any danger? Russell asked. Not immediately, Howard replied. But if we were to use Thunderbolt repeatedly in the same region of space. He shook his head. The cumulative damage could be problematic. Russell nodded, gravely. Then this was both first and last use under anything but the most extreme circumstances. Commander, Garcia interrupted. Incoming transmission from Earth Command. General Freeman is requesting an immediate report. Put him through to my ready room, Russell ordered, standing from her chair. Lieutenant Peterson, you have the bridge. Maintain alert status, but take no aggressive actions. Yes, Commander, Peterson acknowledged. As Russell headed toward her, ready room, Martinez stepped forward. Commander, with your permission, I'd like to begin Thunderbolt system shutdown procedures. The longer it remains active, the more strain it puts on our power grid. Granted, Russell said. And good work, Chief, all of you, she added, looking around at her bridge crew. No one panicked, even when facing an armada. Earth can be proud. In her ready room, Russell took a moment to compose herself before activating the secure channel. To Earth. The events of the past hour would forever change humanity's place in the galaxy. The Defiant had come looking for peaceful first contact and had instead demonstrated a weapon of terrifying power. As General Freeman's face appeared on her screen, Russell knew she needed to convey not just what had happened, but what it meant for the future. Humanity was no longer the new kid on the galactic block. For better or worse, they had just announced their presence with an unmistakable message. Underestimate us at your peril. General Freeman, she began, I need to report that first contact with the Zarthak Imperium has resulted in a demonstration of the Thunderbolt system. 28 enemy vessels have been removed from this dimension. The general's eyes widened, slightly, the only indication of his shock. Casualties? Unknown, Russell replied honestly, but likely total for those vessels. The remaining Zarthak ships have requested peace talks. Freeman nodded slowly. I see. And the Thunderbolt system? Any unexpected effects? Some concerning readings about space-time stability, Russell said. Dr. Howard believes we shouldn't use the weapon again in the same region of space. Understood. Freeman was silent for a moment. Commander, your mission has just changed. Remain at your position and open diplomatic channels with the surviving Zarthak. Earth needs to know what we've just gotten ourselves into. Yes, sir, Russell replied, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. What should I tell them about Thunderbolt? Nothing specific, Freeman said firmly. Let them wonder. Sometimes mystery is more powerful than knowledge. As the transmission ended, Russell stared out the small viewport in her ready room at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, 28 ships and their crews had been sent elsewhere. It was a sobering thought, and one that would haunt her for years to come. 3 days had passed since the Defiant had fired its mysterious weapon. The remaining Zarthak vessels maintained their distance, exactly 1 light minute away as Commander Russell had ordered. Inside the Defiant, the crew worked tirelessly to analyze data and prepare for the diplomatic meetings that would follow. Russell sat in the ship's conference room with her senior staff, The large table was covered with data tablets and holographic displays showing analysis of the Thunderbolt weapon's effects. The space-time tiers are stable, Dr. Howard explained, pointing to a complex diagram floating above the table. They're not growing, but they're healing much slower than expected. At the current rate, it will take approximately 300 years for this region of space to return to normal. 300 years? Lieutenant Peterson whistled softly. That's a long time to have damaged space floating around. Howard nodded gravely, which is why we can't use Thunderbolt again unless absolutely necessary. Multiple tiers in the same region could potentially merge, creating larger anomalies with unpredictable effects. Chief Martinez added, "We've placed warning beacons around the affected area. Any ship passing through might experience minor temporal distortions, but nothing dangerous." Russell absorbed this information with a frown. "So we have a weapon that works almost too well, but leaves lasting damage to space itself. Not exactly the outcome Earth hoped for when developing this technology." "Speaking of Earth," Lieutenant Garcia said, "we've received 17 urgent messages from various governments and military commands back home. News about what happened here has spread quickly." "I bet it has," Russell said with a tired smile. "A single human ship taking out 28 advanced alien vessels would definitely make headlines." Garcia's expression remained serious. "It's not just Earth that's talking, Commander. We're picking up transmissions from at least 24 other alien civilizations. They all want to know what happened here." "Word travels fast in space," Peterson remarked. "Faster than we thought possible," Garcia agreed. "Some of these civilizations are hundreds of light years away, yet they already know about the incident. The Zarthak must have some form of faster-than-light communication we don't understand yet." Russell leaned back in her chair, considering the implications. "So not only have we revealed our secret weapon to the Zarthak, but now the entire galaxy knows something big happened here. Perfect." "There's more," Garcia continued. "We've received diplomatic requests from 15 different species asking for meetings with Earth representatives. Most of them have never contacted us before." "Let me guess," Russell said dryly. "They suddenly want to be friends with the humans who can make warships disappear." "Pretty much," Garcia confirmed. The door to the conference room slid open and Lieutenant Daniel Carter entered quickly. "Commander, the Zarthak delegation is ready to transport over. Their shuttle is holding position 5,000 kilometers off our port side, awaiting final clearance." Russell stood up. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Tell them they have permission to approach. Security teams in place?" "Yes, Commander," Carter replied. 2 full teams in the shuttle bay and along all corridors to the diplomatic suite. Not that we expect trouble, they seem thoroughly intimidated." "Good," Russell said. "Let's keep it that way. Dr. Howard, Chief Martinez, you'll join me for the, meeting. The rest of you continue analyzing our data. I want to know everything about what happened when we fired that weapon, down to the smallest detail." 30 minutes later, Russell stood in the Defiant's diplomatic suite, watching as 3 Zarthak representatives entered. Sub-Commander Vextik led the group, followed by 2 smaller aliens that appeared to be scientific or diplomatic advisors. All 3 moved with careful, measured steps, their body language submissive. "Welcome aboard the Defiant." Russell greeted them formally. "I'm Commander Alice Russell. This is Dr. Nathan Howard, our Chief Scientist, and Chief Engineer Olivia Martinez." Vextik made a complex gesture with his upper limbs that the Universal Translator identified as a formal greeting. "Thank you for allowing this meeting, Commander. The Imperium wishes to express its sincere regret for the unfortunate misunderstanding that occurred." "Misunderstanding?" Martinez whispered under her breath, but Russell silenced her with a subtle gesture. "We are pleased to move forward diplomatically," Russell replied neutrally. "Please be seated." The Zarthak carefully arranged themselves on the specially modified chairs provided for their insectoid bodies. Vextik's compound eyes darted nervously around the room, perhaps looking for signs of the terrible weapon that had destroyed half their fleet. "The Emperor himself has sent instructions," Vextik began once they were settled. "The Zarthak Imperium wishes to establish peaceful relations with Earth immediately. We offer technology, resources, and access to trade routes throughout our territory. That's a significant change from your previous position, Russell noted calmly. Vextic's mandibles twitched. The Imperium has reassessed its understanding of human capabilities. We believed your species to be newly emerged into galactic society with limited technological development. A natural assumption given our apparent level of technology, Dr. Howard said with careful politeness. An incorrect assumption, one of the other Zarthak added, this one with markings that suggested a scientific role. One that cost us dearly. Russell nodded acknowledgement but offered no apology. What does the Imperium propose specifically? Vextic activated a small device that projected a star map showing a large section of the galaxy. Various regions were highlighted in different colors. These are the current political boundaries of major civilizations in this sector, he explained. The Zarthak Imperium controls these systems in blue. We propose that Earth be recognized as a major power with control over these unclaimed systems, in green. Russell studied the map with surprise she couldn't quite hide. The unclaimed systems represented an area at least twice the size of what Earth currently explored. That's quite generous, she said carefully. It is appropriate, Vextic replied. A civilization with your capabilities deserves proper respect and territory. The meaning was clear. The Zarthak were afraid, and they were offering a substantial bribe to keep humanity's terrifying weapon pointed elsewhere. I'm not authorized to accept territorial agreements, Russell said truthfully. But I will convey your offer to Earth's unified government. In the meantime, we can discuss immediate concerns like navigation rights and emergency communication protocols. The meeting continued for 3 hours, with the Zarthak agreeing to every proposal Russell made. By the time the aliens departed, the Defiant had secured free passage throughout Zarthak space, access to their star charts and preliminary trade agreements that heavily favored Earth. After the Zarthak shuttle had departed, Dr. Howard shook his head in wonder. They're terrified of us. One demonstration of Thunderbolt and an empire that spans hundreds of worlds is practically begging for our friendship. Fear is a powerful motivator, Russell said, but it's not a good foundation for lasting peace. She stared out the viewport at the distant stars. We came looking for allies and found enemies. Now those enemies want to be our friends, but only because they're afraid of what we might do to them. What happens now? Martinez asked. Russell sighed. Now we face the consequences of our actions. Earth just became a major galactic power overnight, and everyone will want to know how we did it. Some will want the technology for themselves. Others will want to make sure we never use it again. And the Zarthak? Howard asked. They'll spread the word about what happened here, Russell replied. Exaggerated stories about the humans who can make entire fleets vanish with a single shot. Part of me thinks that might be good for keeping the peace, but another part. She trailed off, looking troubled. Another part knows that fear eventually turns to hatred, Martinez finished quietly. Russell nodded. Exactly. We've gained respect through fear, but our real challenge will be maintaining peace through wisdom. She straightened her uniform and headed for the door. Let's get back to work. We have reports to file and a galaxy of consequences to face. 6 months had passed since the incident with the Zarthak fleet. Commander Alice Russell stood in the Grand Hall of the newly established Galactic Diplomatic Corps on Earth. The massive room was filled with representatives from 37 different alien species, all gathered to sign what was being called the Terran Accords, a peace treaty that officially recognized Earth as a major galactic power. Russell wore her formal dress uniform, now decorated with new medals that marked her as the commander who had changed humanity's future. She watched as diplomats from worlds she had never heard of 6 months ago mingled nervously, their eyes occasionally darting toward the main doors. Quite a turnout, Lieutenant Daniel Carter said quietly, appearing at her side. He, too, had been promoted after the Defiant incident and now served as Earth's deputy liaison to alien governments. They're not here because they like us, Russell replied. They're here because they're afraid of what might happen if they don't establish formal relations. Carter nodded. Fear is a powerful motivator. But a poor foundation for lasting peace, Russell finished. It had become something of a personal motto for her in recent months. The main doors opened, and a hush fell over the crowded hall. The Zarthak Emperor himself entered, followed by his royal guards and advisors. The insectoid ruler was even larger than Admiral Krzoth had been, his exoskeleton adorned with elaborate markings that signified his supreme status. This was the first time the Emperor had ever left the Zarthak homeworld to visit another planet, a fact not lost on anyone present. His decision to personally attend the signing ceremony spoke volumes about how seriously the Imperium now took humanity. "Commander Russell," Carter whispered urgently. "The Secretary General is motioning for you to join the receiving line." Russell nodded and made her way through the crowd to where Earth's highest officials waited to greet the Emperor. As she took her place, she couldn't help but reflect on how quickly everything had changed. After returning to Earth, the Defiant had been immediately placed under the highest security protocols. Project Thunderbolt had been classified beyond top secret, with only 12 people on the entire planet having full knowledge of how the weapon worked. Dr. Howard had been named the head of a new research division focused on understanding and managing the space-time tiers left by the weapon. The Thunderbolt system itself had been removed from the Defiant and secured in a facility deep beneath the lunar surface. The official policy was that the weapon would never be used again except in the most extreme circumstances, the end of human civilization itself. Yet despite these precautions, rumors about the human disappearance weapon had spread throughout the galaxy. Some said it could erase entire solar systems. Others claimed it sent its targets to hellish dimensions where they experienced eternal torment. The stories grew more exaggerated with each telling, making humanity seem far more dangerous than they actually were. Russell was pulled from her thoughts as the Emperor approached. The massive alien towered over her, his compound eyes studying her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. "Commander Russell," the Emperor said, his words translated by the small device at his throat. "At last we meet in person. You have earned a place in Zarthak history, though perhaps not in a way you intended." Russell bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I'm pleased that our civilizations have found a path to peace, despite our difficult beginning." "Indeed." The Emperor's mandibles clicked softly. "Though I must confess I find it difficult to reconcile this small human before me with the destruction of 28 of my finest warships." "Size can be deceiving," Russell replied with diplomatic care. "As your Admiral Krzoth learned." The Emperor made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Well said, Commander." His overconfidence was regrettable, but perhaps necessary for both our peoples to find proper understanding. As the Emperor moved on to greet Earth's Secretary General, Russell found herself approached by an alien she didn't recognize, a tall, willowy being with pale blue skin and 4 arms. "Commander Russell of the Defiant," the alien said with a formal bow. "I am Ambassador Zeltharian of the Aldari Confederation. My government wishes to express its gratitude for your actions against the Zarthak." Russell raised an eyebrow. "Gratitude?" "The Imperium has been expanding aggressively for centuries," the ambassador explained. "Many civilizations have suffered under their rule. Your demonstration of power has checked their ambitions, shall we say." "That wasn't our intention," Russell said honestly. "We were simply defending ourselves." "Nevertheless, the effect has been profound. The balance of power has shifted." The ambassador leaned closer. "My government would be most interested in discussing technological exchange, perhaps regarding certain advanced defensive systems." Russell's expression hardened slightly. "I'm afraid Earth's policy is quite clear, Ambassador. The technology you're referring to is not available for sharing or sale." "Of course," the alien said smoothly, though disappointment was evident in its voice. "But should your policy ever change, the Aldari would offer most generous terms." As the ambassador departed, Russell was joined by Chief Engineer Martinez, who now wore the uniform of Earth's new Advanced Technologies Division. "I've had 5 similar conversations in the last hour," Martinez said with a grimace. "Everyone wants Thunderbolt, or at least their version of what they think Thunderbolt is." "They'll be disappointed," Russell replied firmly. "The weapon stays, Deactivated and secured. Martinez nodded in agreement. Dr. Howard's latest research confirms what we suspected. The space-time tiers are actually spreading, very slowly but measurably. If we had used the weapon again in the same region. She didn't finish the sentence. We almost destroyed reality itself, Russell said quietly. All to win a battle we could have avoided with better diplomacy. You can't blame yourself, Commander. We had no choice at the time. There's always a choice, Russell responded, and now we have to live with ours. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of chimes, calling the assembly to order for the treaty signing. Russell took her place among Earth's delegation as the Secretary General began the formal proceedings. As she watched the leaders of 37 worlds affix their signatures or genetic markers to the Terran Accords, Russell felt both pride and unease. Humanity had gone from an ignored newcomer to a feared power in a single moment. But power without wisdom was dangerous, perhaps more dangerous than any weapon. Later, as the ceremony concluded, Russell found herself alone on a balcony, overlooking the lights of Geneva. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of lake water and mountain pine. In orbit high above, she knew the Defiant was being prepared for its next mission, a journey deeper into unexplored space to contact civilizations that had suddenly expressed great interest in meeting humans. The ship had been refitted, its weapons upgraded, but the space where Thunderbolt had been installed remained empty. Russell hoped it would stay that way. Earth had learned a hard lesson about the responsibilities that came with great power. In a universe filled with ancient and advanced civilizations, humanity had announced its presence with terrifying effectiveness. Now came the harder part, proving they deserved the place they had claimed among the stars. Commander Russell, she turned to see a young officer standing in the doorway to the balcony. The Zarthak Emperor has requested a private meeting with you before he departs. He says it's a matter of importance regarding future security arrangements. Russell nodded, straightening her uniform. The galaxy was watching humanity now, waiting to see what they would do next. Fear had given them a seat at the table. Wisdom would determine whether they kept it. Tell His Majesty I'll be there in 5 minutes, she said, taking one last look at the peaceful Earth night sky. The real work was just beginning. The end.